Hello everybody and welcome to another IHEARTHU.com King of the Hill. I am Artosis and sadly I'm not joined by Doa this time. He's on vacation right now, actually visiting family, so this one's just going to be a solo cast. Probably not quite as good as having a couple people do it, but you know what? We want to keep the King of the Hill going. We're having a lot of fun with it. It's really exciting. So here I am. I'm going to be manning through and doing the whole thing. Hope you enjoy. So let's talk about, first off, what is this King of the Hill, especially if this is the first time you're checking out. Well, first off, obviously this is Hearthstone, and it is a best of 7 format with winner stays, kind of King of the Hill format for your decks as well. So you have 4 different decks with 4 different classes. Each player starts with a deck, and the winning deck stays while the other player has to rotate through to a new deck. And eventually, you can't reuse decks, so eventually someone ends up beating all 4 decks of their opponents, and they win. And then they stay and play the next week as well. And of course, in between weeks, you can change your decks and all that. So it's a really fun format. We're having a great time with it, seeing a lot of diversity. I think that having 4 decks in that best of 7 really helps out with that. So it's pretty cool. Now, before we get started on who these players are and what they've done so far, I do want to mention that at the end of this broadcast, we're going to be doing a bunch of beta keys again, giving them away. Make sure you go to IHEARTHU.com. You're going to be able to easily find the thread in which you're supposed to post, and you can watch the live drawing at the end if you like. You don't have to watch it. Like if you have to go or something, don't worry about it. You'll get a PM on the forums to collect your key. So go ahead, enter that. You have until the end of this match, and then that's that. We'll do the drawing with all the people who did enter. So let's talk about these players. Our defending champion Gnimsh, he took out LS last week, and it was a good match. Gnimsh really played very, very well. Had a lot of aggressive decks in there. I'm not sure exactly what he's using for this week quite yet, but I'll learn at the same time as you. But let's talk about who Gnimsh is. He was a WoW TCG player. He's won a ton of events. He's the Polish champion. Just a great all-around player. He was huge in WoW TCG, but the guy he's playing against is kind of the same. They're kind of like from the same group of friends that practice together some and know each other quite well because they were in that WoW TCG, which, by the way, is really close to what Hearthstone is. And the guy he's going up against is Nyhx, and he's a German player who actually was so good by the time he was 13, went to the World Championships. Was generally considered, I guess, the second best German player overall. I believe that's next to KOTH. I'll have to double check on that, but he's won a ton of tournaments. He's placed in top 8 in all the major ones that he's attended. Nyhx is a great player. I oftentimes call him Max. I might do that by accident, or I might call Gnimsh Marson by accident, but it's just because they're my buddies, so sorry about that ahead of time. But these guys, they both have a lot of professional CCG experience. They both have really great decks, understanding, very good players, so this should be a really nice match. Now, let's go ahead and dive into these decks and take a look. First off, the defending champion, the King of the Hill, Gnimsh. He's playing, well, as you can see, a Murloc deck. Well, it's Warlock Murloc. Let's take a look. It's got a Leroy in there, an old Murkai. I really like both those. The Doom Guards for some extra charge. That's really nice and aggressive. A couple Fell Guards in there. Wow, okay, I like that as well. And let's see, he's using Cold Light Seer. Is he using the other Cold Light? It looks like he's not using the Cold Light that gives a +2 armor, which that's fine because, that's almost overkill a lot of the time. I really like this one, actually. See, he's got the double Soulfire. He's actually skipping out on some of the other aggressive spells like Power Overwhelming, but that's alright. A couple Blood Imps, that's just like the greatest card in the world, the greatest 1-drop. The Void Walkers as well. Okay, so this is, and a couple Iron Beaks. This is, first off, in my opinion, Warlock is the best for Murloc by a good margin because you can just pay the life to draw those extra cards. And then you have cards like Blood Imp in there and Soulfire in there that are really going to help out. And then he's added a little bit else to kind of shore up the weaknesses and the inadequacies of this deck, like the Fell Guards and the Doom Guards, the Leroy, of course, and the Hellfires is really, really interesting in here. This is because this is such an aggressive deck that wants to have so many minions down, but yet at the same time he's playing Hellfire. So that might just be like the emergency board clear, like against another minion based deck that could come in really handy. But like, let's say he draws a couple of those early on, his deck isn't going to get out off to that good a start, I don't think. But I really like this version of Murloc. It keeps its aggression, but also has some extra minions that are really hard to deal with. So that's pretty cool. Now, over on Nyx's side, he's chosen a really good deck to open with. He calls it Safari. It's a Shaman deck. And Shaman has like the most removal type stuff. I feel like Shaman does the best against Murloc a lot of the time. Let's look at how much removal he has. He actually has a couple Stormforges, 2 Rockbiters, a couple Lightning Bolts, then Earth Shock, Blood Mage Thalnos. He's got all sorts of small little minions, like the Novices, the Fairy Dragons. He has the Feral Spirits, which are amazing. The Lightning Storms, which are going to be amazing. This is a really unbelievably solid deck that I'm looking at right here. It's just so good, and it peaks mostly at 6 with the 1 Rag. I love this deck list that I'm seeing. This is so cool. The single Bloodlust, of course, double Argent, double Fire Elemental. Those are like maybe the best minions in the game right there. They're just there's so much value that comes out of them. And then the Azura Drake, because there's so much damage in a Shaman deck. And I would say, looking at these two decks, how they probably match up against each other, my guess is Shaman with a decent draw can end up taking this deck out. He's going to have to play really controlling. He's going to have to wipe the board a couple times. There's no forked lightnings in here, which could help against this, but you know they do tie up 2 mana in the overcharge. So I think overall I'm kind of liking the Shaman deck. That's my opinion on how this will go. I feel like Nyx might be able to take this, but I do like, we have a bunch of cards in here that aren't going to die to Lightning Storm for the Murloc deck, so that's really helpful as well. Okay, so I think I've talked enough about these decks and these players, so let's go ahead and get into game number 1. Alright, here we go. Top player going to be Gnimsh, our defending champion. Bottom player going to be Nyhx, and you can see their hands underneath on either side. And it looks like the coin does go to Gnimsh, so he'll be going second. And let's see how quick of a start he actually gets off to. A Grimscale Oracle. That's not the number 1 drop that you like as much. You want to get that guy out that gains attack. Okay, a Novice Engineer coming up. And that's already a pretty strong start. That's going to be able to take him out most likely. But no, there's a Voidwalker for Gnimsh. You're probably going to want to play that out. Oh no, he doesn't. He actually skips playing that. Oh, he's going to coin it out, of course, yes. That's definitely the right play right there. Playing down the Voidwalker doesn't. If that elf comes out and kills one of your first Murlocs and stays alive, that's pretty terrible. So, now, will we see a Rockbiter? Will we see Lightning Bolt? I think we should see one of these. Probably Rockbiter, kill the Voidwalker, and then kill the Murloc. I think that's pretty powerful. That plus a Totem, in my opinion, going to be the best way to do it, because then you don't get overloaded. You got 4 mana next turn. You can do it like a Lightning Bolt and a Spirit, Feral Spirit. I call it Spirit Wolves a lot of the time. Let's see, he's really thinking. Nyx is a really cognitive player. He thinks a lot each turn on each play just to make sure that he does what he feels is best. Okay, so he's going to go ahead and eat the Overload now, and that is only Overload 1, which means he will have 3 mana next turn for the Feral Spirit, but he won't be able to do a Rockbiter that turn as well. But still, this is a very good play. And you know what, with the Feral Spirit, he probably won't need it. And look at that, he even gets a Healing Totem to heal up his little elf. Isn't that wonderful? This hand right now that we're seeing, I don't really like it that much for poor Gnimsh. And if we see these Spirit Wolves come up next, I don't know that we will. But if we do, you know what, I think that here, yeah, you definitely drop the Flame Tongue Totem and throw down the Rockbiter on your little elf guy and kill off that quite ridiculous, what is it called? Felguard, yes. I think that is the right play. Let's see. Is he going to end up doing that? I think that's the only play that makes a lot of sense here. Feral Spirits are just going to start to get picked off by the Felguard. And also this is going to leave you with 5 mana in the next turn, because of no overload. Okay, and he chooses to use the totem, which is actually obviously better because that's exact damage. So that's really powerful so far. This is a really great start for Nyhx. Now, Gnimsh, unfortunately, he lost one of his mana crystals from that Felguard. So, you know, you don't really expect the Felguard to be taken out that quickly, but there's just so much at the disposal of a Shaman in the early game. So he can't use his Hellfire, which kind of sucks. The Hellfire would be, like, a very nice play here, but... What do you do here? His hand is just not looking that hot for this turn. I mean, you could Soulfire, but I don't like it. I think playing out the Murlocs might be the best course of action. Yeah, he's going to go ahead and play out both Murlocs. And he is going to go ahead and Hellfire. Soulfire? No, he's not. Alright, chose against that. Alright, at 5 mana now, yeah, there's a lot he can do. Does he Feral Spirit? I think, yeah, that's just safe as can be. It's gonna mana lock him a little bit, but this is a Murloc deck, so who cares? It's as long as you're safe and at high health, you're set. And he's at 29 right now with a good amount of cards in hand, an insanely strong hand right now. And there's that Hellfire. Really, really nice there by Gnimsh. So, clearing up the board, but... yeah, more Feral Spirits coming down. The thing is, all these cards that we have in the hand of Gnimsh have drawbacks right now. Soulfire gets rid of a card. Doomguard gets rid of 2. Old Murkai is only going to be a 2 attack. And Leroy Jenkins gives a couple tokens to your opponent. So actually we see from Nyhx, he goes for the totem plus the Stormforged Axe. And that's going to be more mana efficient, of course. This is rough. Nothing going Gnimsh's way so far this game. Even taking out the totem at this point. Oh god. Well, this is a really, really one-sided game. What do you even do here as Gnimsh? He's dealt so little damage so far. He's really low on health. Hellfire won't even take out that Fire Elemental. Is he Jenkins? Or Jenkins? Oh god, I always mix up Leroy Jenkins with Jenkins, the musical artist. I don't know why. Because their names sound the same, I guess. I found out about them at the same point in time in my life. Yeah, no, there's just not many good options here for Gnimsh. He's sitting there thinking, trying to go through all the calculations, what possibly can be done. I think, yeah, Leroy Jenkins might be best. Just Jenkins right into the Fire Elemental and hope that you can do. Oh yeah, okay. This Doomguard getting rid of a couple cards here, so he at least saves the Doomguard, and with the taunt, it may be able to make it. But look at this: a Hex in hand, a couple Feral Spirits. It's just such a good hand right now for Nyhx. And with a single Hellfire in hand, lower life, I see no way out of this. Alright, so plays a totem. Okay, that's not too bad. May as well remove him. Now you gotta be careful with Shaman because you can't gain life with the Shaman. Like, the only thing you could do is play neutral minions that gain life, and obviously you're not gonna do that. They aren't the greatest cards ever. So, ooh, a nice Hellfire coming out. So at least the Hellfire gets its job done. I don't know if those are really gonna do very much though. Feral Spirit wouldn't be bad, Azure Drake wouldn't be bad. In fact, anything wouldn't be bad right now. 18 health against a Warlock that's drawn pretty dead. You play a Novice Engineer and a Totem. Nope, decides to throw out those Spirit Wolves, make sure he doesn't take any more damage. And that, well, a couple Murlocs, that's kind of nice. And he actually chooses not to play the Tidecaller. I think this is obviously a big mistake if he's going to cast this this turn. Ooh, that was a big misplay by Gnimsh. Now, it probably won't end up mattering, but you want him to gain the +1 from the War Leader when it comes out. He would be at 4 attack right now, which is definitely going to be a lot better. That's really rough, because now, I mean, this is... It probably won't end up mattering, because he probably uses spell to get rid of it. But still. He could be a 2-2 right now instead. And oh boy. Well, looks like this is going to be cleaned up next turn. Nyhx really been in charge this entire game. I don't think that this Warlock deck can possibly lose, or rather this Shaman deck, sorry, can really possibly lose to anything that's just like an aggressive minion deck if it has a reasonable draw. There's just so much damage. There's so much that you can do to deal with those early minions. Yeah, may as well do that. He doesn't want Rag to be able to attack into him directly. It's a good idea. You know, obviously Gnimsh shouldn't leave the game until he's actually dead, because in card games you can get pretty lucky at times. But that's it. And that's a GG. Nyhx takes game number 1 off the defending champion Gnimsh. So let's go ahead and take a look at those other decks. Okay, so that was kind of one-sided. A slow start there for Gnimsh. Didn't really work out with the Murloc deck. That's kind of sad, because the Murloc deck is a deck that really can pick up a couple wins for you in a format like this. It's so aggressive, it's so explosive. But that control deck from Shaman, really, really strong. And as we see here, Gnimsh has chosen, I think, the perfect deck to fight against that Shaman control type of deck. And I think that, you know, against a deck like that Shaman deck that we just saw from Nyhx, I feel like you're probably going to want to play Mage or Priest against it. You know, it's got so much removal for any minions, but like a Mage deck is going to be so fast that it may not end up being able to control the flow of the game. And as we saw, even though the Murloc deck kind of got a rocky start, still the life on the Shaman went down pretty low. And if it's a Mage that you're playing against, they're going to be able to take advantage of a low life total a little bit better. So it's a good choice. And as we see, it is Mage deck wins once again. This is a deck that we kind of keep on seeing popped up. Gnimsh has his own version, of course. Everyone kind of plays their own type of Mage deck. And this one, we saw it last week. It's very minion-based. You know, it plays a lot of the direct damage, but also has the Leper Gnomes, the Mana Worms, the various minions that you can ping yourself, like the Acolyte of Pain and all the Enrage guys. A couple defenders in there, only one Water Elemental, one Flame Strike, but it still has the Fireballs, it has the Power Blast. I like that there's no Polymorphs in here. I think those are overkill. I don't see why you'd really need them. This is just like so heavily aggressive. And it's aggressive enough, I think, to keep all totems off the board. And if you can keep all the totems off the board, that's, I played Shaman a lot for a long time, and I have to say that I feel like that's one of the best ways to approach playing against Shaman, is keeping totems off the board. But in this case, with how aggressive this deck is, he may just want to go for the head, because Shaman has no healing nowadays. So I think it's a good choice. How these decks match up, I think if it's a reasonable draw, Gnimsh can definitely take this and tie it up. But let's go ahead, jump into this game, and see how it goes. Here we go. Down at the bottom, once again, is Nyhx, the challenger. Up at the top, it is Gnimsh, the king of the hill. And we have Nyhx this time, winning the coin flip, getting that coin. Squelching. Alright, so a quick Fairy Dragon does come down from Gnimsh, actually. And, Fairy Dragon, very nice, but against Shaman, not going to do as well. Just Stormforged it right out of there. So, good control so far, and that's going to lock him at 2 mana next turn, so we'll probably just see a totem out of him. Now, on Gnimsh's side, very good play right there, the Worgen. Now, this makes it a little bit scary. He's going to... Oh, okay. He's going to coin into a Feral Spirit, probably, or maybe a Hex, actually. Yeah, that actually makes a lot more sense to go right into that Hex, because if he does something like tries to totem, he's going to ping it and deal 8 damage, unless it just happens to be the taunt totem, that one with the snake on it. So, another Raging Worgen does come down, as well as a Leper Gnome. A lot of actual aggression coming out of Gnimsh here, but definitely something that can still be dealt with. He could attack the Gnome and Hex the Worgen once again. I don't like Lightning Storm here. It's a little bit risky, and if it deals damage to it, he's going to take even more from attacking him. And he's going to have to attack him. Thinking about it, I would attack first. Prevent that one. Well, you know what? It's 50% that it's going to do 3 damage, so maybe 50% is worth all the health. Let's see. It looks like he really wants to save that Hex. You can notice Nyhx really thinking heavily about this. And if he does that, it's got to be a Hex. Really heavily thinking. Do you do the Lightning Storm? You know, he has that 1 charge left on the axe. I think attacking the gnome and hexing the other guy. Of course, I can see Gnimsh's hand, but I think that that's a good play. Because the Worgen is actually going to be the most scary creature as far as damage output in a single turn goes. You can't let him out there. And he's got to avoid as much damage as possible right now. Okay, so he stabilizes at 23 health. Gnimsh's hand a lot slower now. There's not a whole lot Gnimsh can do. He's probably going to just play Acolyte and go ahead and ping it. I would... Oh, well, he draws a Shattered Sun Cleric. He could boost the Frog, but I think playing the Acolyte, pinging it, and then buffing the Acolyte next turn... I love plays like that. Shattered Sun Cleric plus Acolyte in a mage deck. Or, why do I call it Acolyte? Oh, you know, that is it. I'm sorry. I'm getting names mixed up. But no, that's a really great combo. It gives you way more pings. So here, Lightning Storm wouldn't be too bad. Could Lightning Storm plus the Totem. Of course, that's going to draw his opponent a card and lock up some of his mana for next turn. So that's kind of annoying. You know, the Shaman decks are one of the most fun decks to play because you have to think so much about this turn plus the next turn and the turn after that due to overload. Just a lot of thinking that goes on. Is he going to Feral? Looks like he is. Saving that Lightning Storm for a bit later on. And a Mana Worm drawn. Okay. Has a Fireball as well. I guess that Mana Worm must have come off the ping, but the Fireball in hand. Okay, so what do you do here? This is actually kind of hard. These numbers are a little bit hard to mess with because those wolves are just so annoying. He could Cone of Cold and buff his Acolyte and take out one of the wolves right now and draw a card. And it looks like that's what he wants to do. Yeah. So gets to draw that other card, and he can take out that wolf next turn in a multitude of ways. So I think that was an optimal turn for him overall. So here what you do is Nyhx with 4 mana available. Lightning Storm is a possibility. But he might have to Lightning Bolt. Well, if he Lightning Storms, then probably the... You know, he can't attack with a Shattered Sun Cleric into that wolf, or it dies. And the wolf still has 2 health. Oh, and it does 3. Look at that. Luck was with him that time. Alright. So Gnimsh, let's see what he's going to have in hand. He has 2 Pyroblasts right now, a Fireball, a couple Mana Worms, and a Defender. He's going to want to probably play a spell this turn. I think he's going to probably just Fireball him in the head, and then Pyroblast. That's going to be really hard to stop. And with a couple 2/3s out, and the fact that he has no life, like, he actually literally has to kill him next turn. Nyhx does, because Gnimsh can just Pyro. Damn, double Pyroblast, so good. Is there any possibility here? With 5 mana open this turn, you could do something like Azure. No, that's not going to be enough. Flame Tongue Totem. The thing is, he doesn't have any... Like, Flame Tongue plus... Maybe Flame Tongue plus Spirit Wolves? For Feral Wolves? Feral Spirit, whatever we're calling this. They make Spirit Wolves, right? But it's Feral Spirit. Thing is, little does he know that there's 2 Pyroblasts in Gnimsh's hand. If he saw that, you know, he wouldn't be too happy about it. Yeah, drop that. Deal 6. And label. Okay. So he can always... and then he loses that. So if we add in another 9 damage, yeah, that's not lethal. He's trying to prevent himself from dying, but he has to kill this next turn, and he's not going to be able to. There's just Bloodlust alone is not... There's not enough guys out there. He might Azure plus token. Could throw out the Spirit Wolves. Thing is, none of these decisions really make any difference. He's still trying to play really, really safe down at 7 health. What he's doing is setting up a really good Bloodlust turn the next turn. In fact, that could be lethal right there. 6 times 3, 18. Yeah, that would be actually lethal. So he would win the next turn. But of course, if Gnimsh didn't have double Pyroblast, he probably wouldn't have been playing like we've been seeing here. And that is it. Gnimsh picks up game number 2 with Mage Deck wins. Let's go ahead and see what deck Nyhx wants to use against it. Alright, well, double Pyroblast is pretty good. The Mage Deck wins once again. Mage decks are actually, I think, have the best record so far in our King of the Hill. Let's take a look at the new deck coming into here. It's called, I guess, Calcutta, which is a pretty funny name. And it is a warrior deck. Now, this is something that Nyhx and ECOP worked on quite a bit. I've played against something very similar to this quite a bit as well. A few cards different. But this is an unbelievably powerful deck. It deals damage so quickly. It would actually really surprise you if you played against this, trust me, because you look at it, you're like, well, it kind of looks like a lot of warrior decks I've faced. But with 2 upgrades and Captain Greenskin, the weapons stay around just about forever. And there's even an Hearthstone Weaponsmith, so that plus 2 Arcanites, plus 2 Fiery War Axe, plus a Gore Howl, that is a ton of weapon damage. And then, of course, it's playing, you know, the Bloodsail Raiders that are good with the weapons, the Cruel Taskmasters to activate, the Amani Berserkers, and the... Well, it looks like, yeah, the Raging Workers are in here. And then just a couple really intelligent minions in here, like Fairy Dragon, Scarlet Crusader, because they're just, like, really strong cards overall. Fairy Dragon really good against Mage as well as Priest. And Scarlet Crusader's, like, always 2 for 1, right? Pretty aggressive deck overall. And you know, I've talked a lot to Nyhx, and he really thinks that this is a good counter to Mage. Like, it deals damage so quickly that you know, even though Mage Deck wins is like really fast and very scary, this one can get even more out of control. And especially since we can look and see that Mage Deck wins, it doesn't have any acidic swamp ooze, so it's not basically anything he wants to do with his weapons he's going to be able to do. There's no way to stop it. So I'm actually pretty excited to see this warrior deck played out, and I'm excited for everyone else to see it too, because I've felt its power when I've played against these guys. So it's a scary one. If I had to guess, you know, with how much I've been told that this warrior deck really counters Mage very well, gotta go with the warrior deck being able to take this one and swing it back in the favor of Nyhx. So let's go ahead and get in that game and see. Okay, once again, down at the bottom, and really for the entire series, because it's smart to keep it like that, it is Nyhx, and up at the top, the defending champion, King of the Hill, it is Gnimsh. Let's take a look at these opening hands. The coin does go to Gnimsh, and he has a lot of things he can do here. Wow, what is he actually going to throw out? Ah, the Fairy Dragon. That's like okay, but the thing is, Fire War Axe will take that out pretty easily as well. So a good turn there by Nyhx, just a good counter. And the next turn, he's got a lot of options. He can throw out his Bloodsail Raider. That's my guess of what he'll do. Now, for Gnimsh, at 2 mana, yeah, I think he just throws out Amani Berserker. Just makes sense. Oh, okay. He's actually going to choose the Mana Worm. Oh, he's trying to draw the Axe hit out on the Mana Worm because it's such a fearsome creature. But he doesn't have, like, anything to abuse that. So I really like that. I think that's very smart. He has nothing really going. Like, if he had a handful of spells, maybe he'd want that out a bit more. And actually the Fairy Dragon comes down. So I think what's happening is because the Warsong Commander was drawn, he wants to drop Warsong and Bloodsail the turn after he plays Arcanite Reaper. So Nyhx looks like he wants to get like just a huge amount of burst damage going. On the other hand, we see here the Fairy Dragon is out against the Amani, so probably the Amani is going to go ahead and get taken out because it's a lot of damage that would come to his head. But other than that, like, he's going to have to armor up. There's just nothing much else for Nyhx to do here, right? Is he going to play an Amani? He could play an Amani. Okay. Yeah, that's about it. That was the only additional choice that he really had there. He is waiting. His turns 5 and 6 are going to be amazing. And then he can even go for turn 6 Captain Greenskin, but I kind of like the Bloodsail to get that extra damage. And now let's see, with Gnimsh here, doesn't really have the greatest turn right now. Like, what is he supposed to go with here? Freezing his opponent doesn't really help. Acolyte, not that efficient. Defender, obviously not. Amani he could do, but what does he do then? Ping his opponent?
It's time for a little blood.
Or he's just going to make him big right now. Oh, okay, you know what? This makes perfect sense. I don't know why I didn't think of this. You know, Nyhx has so many weapons that he could have just killed this off. But I think he's probably going to trade his Amani for that Amani and throw down the Arcanite. That's my guess for what the move is going to be here. And I think that's a really good one. You get to deal the 5 damage, you save yourself from their Amani, and you have your weapon ready for the next turn. Where you can play that Bloodsail and give it haste, or charge, or whatever we're going to call it. And in fact, yeah, we'll see. He's still thinking about it. Nyx's a very deliberate player. The one thing I can say about this deck, it takes a while to figure out exactly what you want to do with the Warrior deck. Whereas the Mage deck is a little bit more straightforward, and you're like, okay, this is kind of the optimal play. You have to be a little bit tricky almost with the Warrior deck, where you're like, okay, where do I want to use my weapon charges? Which minions do I want to hold back for a bigger turn later on? You know, what weapon do I want to Captain Greenskin on?
Who you want me kill?
Okay, so it looks like he is going to go with that. That was, in my opinion, really the way to go that turn. Because the next turn is just going to be gigantic as far as damage goes. And with only 5 mana, what is Gnimsh's play? Like, yeah, drop that, ping him, draw a card, and that's it. That's all he can do. What card does he get? He gets another Defender. But here's Nyx's insane turn. Okay, so he's going to go Captain Greenskin. Not a bad choice. Still, his next turn is going to be wild with the Warsong and the Bloodsail. And even if an Ooze came out, he could Warsong, Bloodsail, and fire War Axe all at once. So he could still get a big charge off. Or a big, yeah, it is charge in this game. Okay. And now he has that extra hit from the Axe. He's actually just going to kill him next turn or something. Oh, no, I guess not. A couple with Taunt. But this is going grossly in Nyx's favor. Now, do you clear the Taunt guys before doing this? Lots of possibilities on how he wants to approach this turn. Let's see. He's really thinking quite heavily. What would I do here? Let me think. Thing is, you want to save the Warsong with the Bloodsail. It's like pretty sick. Argent wouldn't be bad, but then you're leaving the Arcanite Reaper not doing anything for a turn. Likely. You got to be careful too, because it could be a lot of freezing coming up. So he's going to take out one of these guys, right? If he takes out one with him, he should take out probably the Acolyte, just to make sure that he's got that 2 point of health, which is really important between Cone of Cold and the hero power of Mage. It's a hard decision. Look at that. There are a lot of options going on. And he's got to be careful, because the board is getting pretty big for Gnimsh. Alright, so he's dodging the hero power by leaving him at 2 health. You might use that to break the gnome. I feel like breaking the gnome, then hitting him for 6 with the Arcanite might be really nice. Even though that'll give 3 less attack to Bloodsail Raider, you make up for that with attacking with the Fiery War Axe. And it gives you the extra, a little bit of extra. But no, he's going to save it. He's going to save it for his Bloodsail. And I guess actually, if you add that up, that's 9 plus 8. That's easily lethal next turn if nothing is done here by Gnimsh. Okay, so probably Cone of Cold is going to have to come down. But that leaves him with just 4 mana left. Ugh. Nothing looks that good. Like, he could Defender, he could Raging Organ. But I think that... Well, you know what? He could actually trade his Defender out and play a couple minions. But his life is getting so low against such a big weapon. And I feel like a 6 attack weapon is not being saved to kill a Frost Elemental, or Water Elemental, rather, sorry. So Gnimsh has to know that there's there's the possibility of Warsong coming out next turn. What does he do? There's no right answer. His mana just doesn't add up either. If he had 8, he'd have a lot more choices. Or he could ping and stuff. Ping Cone of Cold and maybe a Raging or something. Okay, he's gonna play that. Take out both the minions. Leave himself with a minion on board. Not bad. Thing is, this turn there's just so much damage. Oh my god. Inner Rage as well. You can deal so much. So this minion's going to be attacking for 8. Could attack for 10 if he wanted to do that, but I don't think so. Oh wait, yeah, no, with Scarlet, of course. So that is lethal, right? Yeah. There you have it. That is so much damage out of this. Warsong is so good. And bam, exact lethal. Really well played there by Nyhx. Okay, so the deck chosen to fight against this Wild Warrior deck is, in fact, a Shaman deck. And it named Shazam. Oh, I get it. Okay, it's like Shazam, but it's Shamzam. Oh, wow, that's corny. So, this deck, we actually saw him use last week when he defeated LS, and it was just such a really strong controlling deck. You can notice that he has double Earth Elemental, he has the Faceless Mana, he can even get another one if need be, 2 Defender of Argus, he's playing Mana Tide Totems and Shattered Sun Clerics, no big surprise there. The Feral Spirits, a lot of damage, the Fire Elementals and Ragnaros kind of his finishers, picking that mana curve at 6 other than Ragnaros. Really, really strong deck, really defensive. He's even got 2 Earth Shocks. And with a couple Earth Shocks, that's really going to help out against some of these specialty minions on his opponent's side. Earth Shock's going to take out Scarlet Crusaders. They're going to take out Leper Gnomes without taking the additional damage. They're going to be able to take away a lot of the attack on the Enrage minions. It's really solid overall. That's going to be a very good card in this matchup. So with all this damage, a lot of taunts and all that, I feel like this is actually a really good match against this particular Warrior deck, because the one thing the Warrior deck doesn't have is silences or direct removal. Like, there's not even executes in here. This is all based off of attacking your opponent and utilizing weapons to remove the minions that you need to remove. So he really has no way to deal with something like an Earth Elemental that comes down, except for hitting it for 8. So that's like 8 life gain, basically, you can count it as for the Shaman player. That's a lot. So I think I'm going to give a little bit of an edge to this Shaman deck. I think that he has enough damage in the early game to deal with the early rush, and then all he needs to do is get up 1 or 2 taunts. Like get up 1 Fire Elemental and then Defender of Argus something like a Shattered Sun Cleric, and that's like so much extra life gained. So, wow, these guys are really... I feel like they're counter-picking decks basically perfectly against each other. It is really rather back and forth. So, I'm pretty eager, pretty excited to see, can this Shaman deck just knock out this Warrior deck? Let's see. Let's go into this game. Okay, down at the bottom of the screen we have Nyhx, and up at the top Gnimsh, of course. Just reminding you guys, the coin does go to Nyhx. And if we take a look at Gnimsh's hand, not great, not terrible, I would say. We'll see how fast the hand is of Nyhx here. Not really the fastest hand. Gonna go ahead and coin, probably to get that Worgen out immediately. So, if this Worgen comes out immediately... Oh, is he thinking about actually going for the Divine Shield? That... Yeah, he's kind of thinking it over a little bit. The Divine Shield is probably a better play right now, I would say. Because you can't kill that with just one spell. Or unless it is the Earth Shock. So what does Gnimsh get here? Let's take a look. Fire Elemental. He doesn't have any really good play. I mean, there's really nothing he can do. He could play down a Mana Tide to cycle it. That's not really the best. He could just... I think he's going to summon another Totem. Save that Mana Tide for a little bit later on. When there's actually something to hide behind. Or he could put down the Mana Tide knowing that that will be attacked. To give him time to throw something else out to take care of this. But if I look at his hand, there's nothing that's really impressing me here. Like there's not that much. Okay, this makes actually a lot of sense. This guy basically cycles the Blood Mage Thalnos, and with only 1 health on that, it could break the shield, and it's a spell power as well. I like that. That was actually a really good move. All right, so for Nyhx now, ooh, at 3 mana, he's got a lot of options here. I kind of like Fiery War Axe to take out one of these guys. Oh god, I'm going back to my controlling self. Never mind me. But 2 spell power out, that is pretty scary. All of his minions are going to be able to be taken out really easily. Okay, the Worgen? Is he going to Worgen? The thing is, if he Worgens... Okay, the Blood Mage... What can happen here, though, is a Lightning Storm can be cast. It'll take out the Worgen and the Shield of Scarlet, and then he can just attack into the Scarlet. So I feel like this is kind of playing into Gnimsh's hand right now. Now, of course, if there's not a Lightning Storm, then, it's not going to be quite as good. But yeah, I really like that play. I do have to say. In fact, he might not even want to let Thalnos die yet. That might be a consideration. Use Rockbiter Weapon instead. So Gnimsh has a lot of options this turn. Yeah, I'm loving a Lightning Storm. With that +1 spell power, taking out the Worgen. This is really going to slow down Nyhx. He's not doing any damage yet. Come on, Lightning Storm. Let's see. Still thinking. These guys taking their time. They want to make sure that they get exactly the right move down. Nothing feels worse than just quickly making a move and be like, oh, why did I do that? Why didn't I think a little bit more? Yeah, it's not going to be Flame Tongue Totem. Absolutely not. Yeah, the more I look at this, the more I'm like, I think that this is really the way. Because if there is any damaging, like any Inner Rage or Cruel Taskmaster in Nyx's hand, you can't let for even 1 turn that Worgen be there. It's just way too much damage. Wow. Okay. And, Alright, so he's going to just throw out another totem. I feel like that Flame Tongue, no matter what, is going to be taken out this turn. In fact, yeah, take that out, and then maybe Fiery War Axe, and possibly Bloodsail Raider as well. Because, well, no, the thing is, if you play a Bloodsail Raider, there's the chance for Lightning Strike to take everything out once again as well. Well, unless he attacks the 1/1 totem, because the 1/1 totem can pop the shield, which you never want. Okay, that's pretty strong. So that's a lot of damage on board. Of course, he could use... Oh, look at that Earth Elemental. Earth Elemental, great play here, I would say. It's just, yeah, it's going to give you 3 overload, but he should know Nyx's deck pretty well right now. There's just no real direct removal. There's no executes. There's no silences in here. So the Earth Elemental is just going to be a beast that you have to get through. And you basically have to take a ton of damage if he's... Well, no, I think he'd probably pop the shield for that. Pop the shield and lose the Blood Sail. Or, no, he's not going to play the Arcanite over that to do that. Earth Elemental, though, I do kind of like that play. I still like the Lightning Storm from before when the Thalnos was out. I feel like that may end up being an issue. Okay, so he plays a Totem, gets that 1/1. He was probably looking for Spell Power or Taunt. Is he going to use this now? The Lightning Storm now. The thing is, Lightning Storm now, it's going to pop a shield. And... Wait, what? Okay, Rock Biter. Take 5. Okay. So clears that out. Still 25 health, that's fine, turn 5 against this deck. Yeah, I think probably attack the Totem, and then attack with your Scarlet, and then put up the Arcanite. And then the next turn you can Argent and attack with Arcanite, and then you can start upgrading. Oh, is he actually thinking about attacking that? Okay, so this leaves him a little bit more open. It looks like, oh, you know what? I think he's calculating damage right now. Yeah. And, in fact, if he uses a spell this turn to get rid of that Scarlet... Oh, and Earthshock comes out. So that's a good draw, finally, to take care of that. It would have been much better earlier on, but can't control that much. Okay, so 5 mana left. Against an Arcanite Rebrow, I think Earth Elemental is not a bad choice. And actually, yeah, you know what? Defender of Argus is not a bad choice either. Because it's not going to mana lock you down. That is something that has to be removed, and that, if you have to use an Arcanite swing on that little 2/2 Taunt Totem, that's pretty annoying. And I'm sure right now he's thinking, well, too bad I didn't swing in with the Fiery War Axe. Even though that could have been actually the right choice, it's just kind of annoying to have to deal with that. So probably swing, lay down the Argent, attack again. He's got plenty of health, and you know what, with the other Arcanite in his hand and 2 upgrades and a Gorehowl, he doesn't need to worry about the charges so much. It's just sad to use 5 damage on a 2 health minion. Now what's the follow-up if he does that? Because I'm pretty sure that's what he has to do here. Yeah, you don't want the shield popping, so I would definitely say nail the Totem with the Arcanite, play the Argent. So what would he do that next turn then, right? He's at 15 health then. I think probably Fire Elemental and Argus to take out the Argent Commander. And that leaves him a 6/6 on board, which is pretty strong. Thing is, he will take 5 if he does that. Because of the Arcanite, but you know, he does have that Argent as well. He could make a couple Taunters. But it always feels good to get that Fire Elemental out into play. It's just such a beefy guy. Huh? Is he considering the the Earth Elemental? Okay, so it looks like he is going to do the Argus. Just get a couple taunts up. Oh no, never mind. Just going to Totem with the... Well, he's saying, okay, if you attack with this, you're going to lose it. And look at that. That thing is so good against this warrior deck. And he's going to go ahead and play that. And then upgrades. Like, he has 2 upgrades. So, like, playing Gorehowl is basically a win. Oh, okay. He's going to play the Leper Gnome instead. And that's an additional 2 damage. Now, I think another Earth Elemental coming out is absolutely the correct play here. Especially since the Arcanite is there. Like, there's... How do you deal with this right now? He's going to have to take 7 more. And that's only 7 damage. He's going to have to upgrade and take 7. That's the only way to kill that right now. So probably do that, lay your Fairy Dragon armor up. You know, I feel really like Gnimsh has taken pretty big control of this game with those 2 taunts. It's like the card against this deck. And after getting both of them out, look at this. He would have definitely been dead by now if it weren't for those Earth Elementals. So now Gnimsh gets 6 mana. Oh, Fire Elemental that guy for sure. You know, it's funny, Battle Cries actually can affect that dragon. Oh, wait, he's not gonna...
My shield for
Okay. Okay. Huh. You know, he is low on health, so I get a little bit worried about this. Take that out. So he stops all the attacks, which is nice. Gonna armor up. Yeah, no, that's no reason to play Cruel Taskmaster. Alright, Gnimsh, what do you do here? Ooh, Rag. He's got his full 10 mana right now. Rag is not, like, a terrible play. Like, he could Rag and trade with the Fairy, but the thing is, at that health, I feel like you kind of want a taunt right now against this type of deck. Because as we can see right now, like, a lot of damage can be dealt right now by Nyhx next turn. Not quite lethal, though, but if he had, like... He doesn't know what's in his hand, obviously. This is kind of a hard choice. Like, do you trade for the Fairy? Do you lay down a Mana Tide at this point? Could still Rag. Could Fire Elemental. Okay. I think probably Rag is the right way to go. Okay, he wants to get the 6 out. And, you know, one thing this will do is anything that comes out he can kill with that directly, whereas Ragnaros is kind of random with what it hits. I feel like the Rag deals so much damage here. He'd be at 5, less he'd be at 7, which is a Rag hit away from death. Now, does he trigger that guy right now? Yeah. He's saying, I'm killing you next turn. Well, the thing is, he has lethal in the Arcanite itself, but this can get through a taunt as well. Okay, so lethal is next turn. He actually, what he needs to do is lay Rag and just coin flip it. Just attack, because the weapon on the warrior here actually just kills the shaman no matter what. So throw down the Ragnaros, attack. Well, you could remove them and hope to get a taunt or force a taunt onto yourself with the Hex. Yeah, actually the Hex, that wouldn't be too bad. And he can deal 3 plus 9, 12 at the moment. Not quite enough. But he could. Okay, so Lightning Storm, taking out both minions, Hex your own totem, play a totem, and see if you get the other totem. Okay, you don't, but that's fine. Yeah, yeah. Lightning Storm removes them both. He has to Hex his own thing. And he knows that, obviously. Attack with Fire Elemental and Hex the, you know, probably the healing totem, yeah. And against one card in hand, you know, the one thing is if he draws any of his damage spells, like you know, there's enough of them in the deck that he might get one. And then next turn is death. That's it. Okay, so both these guys putting each other on, like, the death point multiple times. Oh, and the Cruel Taskmaster. Perfect draw. Wow, really well played game by both sides there. Really could have gone either way, but the Warrior deck picks up that win. Wow, good play by Nyhx and Gnimsh. Alright, so that one was really down to the wire. Could have definitely gone either way. That was actually a really good one. You know, this Warrior deck showing that it can really pull a lot of little tricks off, deal a lot of damage, even kill with weapons 2 different Earth Elementals and still end up taking it. Really, really powerful. So, what deck does he choose to try to go up against this with? Because, how do you counter this exactly? Well, let's take a look. He calls it Machine Holy Gun. It is a Paladin deck, of course. And he has 2 Acidic Swamp Oozes in this. That's the first thing that I really look at. 2 Acidic Swamp Ooze and 2 Noble Sacrifice. And both those are going to be really good against weapons overall. Really use up like a lot of the swings that aren't going to be able to hit anything. So I really like that. Let's see what else he's got in here. A couple Fairy Dragons, Iron Beaks, 1 Divine Favor. The Aldors, of course, great card. Only 1 Raging Worgen, but he does have 2 Amani Berserker. I really do like that card. Couple Scarlet Crusaders, that's pretty common, pretty standard. A couple True Silvers. Doesn't have any of the buffing sword. Has a couple Dark Iron Dwarves, and a couple Defender of Argus. And yeah, I mean, it looks like kind of a mid-range deck designed to hold off. Well, actually, a deck kind of like what he's facing, or maybe just another minion-based weenie-ish deck. One really interesting thing to point out is no Argent Commanders whatsoever in this Paladin deck, but he does have a couple Avenging Missiles, Avenging Wrath. I always think of Arcane Missiles, because this is like the big version of that. But this card is actually really good. 8 different missiles for 1 damage each at 6 mana. You'd be surprised how good it is when you're controlling the board a little bit. It can act like direct removal a lot of the time. Oh wait, I'm sorry, he does have 1 Argent Commander. Okay, so I was getting a bit worried. I'm like, what is this that you don't play Argent Commanders? It's like an amazing card, like the best card in the game. So, you know what? He has all the tools here to beat the Warrior deck, but the Warrior deck seems like really explosive, really strong. If you don't get the right opener against it, if you can't control its early minions and you get that extra damage, the weapons are going to end up swinging through a lot of the time, I think. So we'll see. You know, there's not really any taunts in here aside from the 2 Defenders of Argus. But I feel like he has enough that he can kind of get through this. Maybe I'll go a little bit with Gnimsh here. Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit with Gnimsh. So let's go ahead and jump in and see how this one goes. Alright, as always, Gnimsh up top, Nyhx down bottom, and it looks like he does get the coin. Decides to play that Leper Gnome right out. Wouldn't be surprised if we see the Fairy Dragon or... Well, of course you're going to see the Fairy Dragon or Scarlet Crusader. Kind of a silly thing to say. Amani Berserker coming out on the other side. Such a solid 2-drop. Now what do you drop against this 2-drop, though? Because I think you go Scarlet. I think you... Because the Amani can simply kill the Leper Gnome and get that bonus. Okay, he's actually going to go Fairy Dragon. I would actually like to see here the Amani hit the Leper Gnome to activate its hugeness and then just kind of attack into the other one. Now, of course, if it was one of those, like a Cruel Taskmaster in Nyx's hand, that would make it a little bit worse. But there you go. He does decide to do that. And I really do like that because now the Fairy Dragon kind of needs to take out the Amani. Oh, and he gets the Cruel Taskmaster. Perfect, perfect draw. He's going to check it all over. You know what? He could coin out Arathi Weaponsmith as well. And use that to use the weapon off of it to do something, but that's kind of a hard choice. How much damage are you willing to take early on here? To kind of... The thing is, he'll end up taking like 8 if this Scarlet wants to take out the Fairy Dragon, which it very well may. You know, if you coin out Arathi Weaponsmith, use that to attack into one of them. Maybe the Scarlet and let the Dragon you know, trade with the Amani? It's a hard choice. You have to kind of plan out what you want to do with the game overall.
What now?
Yeah, definitely not a bad call. The thing is that I guess the Scarlet is going to kill something anyways, probably. Okay, his own Scarlet, so at least going to stay even with that. Not a bad play. Let's see. Now, at 4 mana, what was he playing? Sorry, what was that? Oh, Iron Beak. Okay, no, that's a great play. I don't know how I could not see that. Jumped out of his hand before he played it. Okay, so Iron Beak, silence that, kill it off. Strong board over here. A lot of potential damage coming in. He might use Cruel Taskmaster here to clean some stuff up. Yeah, good choice. Hit the Owl. But now the Warrior deck is actually playing as a control deck, kind of. Gnimsh has had a nice little start there. He hasn't really gotten a lot of damage done on Nyhx, but Nyhx hasn't been able to really do any damage back. Ooh, I like that. A Dark Iron Dwarf. Give that the +2. What are you going to do? Trade for the token? Yeah. Takes out the Cruel Taskmaster, so he's still playing a little bit of control as well. Of course, with just a Battle Cry and a Hero Power to kill that, that's really nice. And up, oh wow, that just shows the power of Captain Greenskin. Bring him up to that 4 attack, taking out the Dark Iron Dwarf, and suddenly the board control is in Nyx's favor. And then comes out a weapon of his own. True Silver Champion gonna take out Captain Greenskin. This is kind of crazy back and forth. These guys just wasting each other's minions over and over and over. The thing is, anything he plays right now is going to be killed off by that True Silver, likely. Well, what he could do is attack with his Battle Axe and play Arathi. Because Arathi is like the one minion in his hand that isn't that valuable, other than the fact that it gives you a weapon. In fact, he has 6 mana. He could do that plus Amani. And then he has like an Inner Rage in there as well. He could play both Raging Worgen and Amani Berserker. Well, it looks like he's going to play the Arathi Weaponsmith, so I don't have to guess anymore. That's a good play, I think. Because which one do you take out? Like, having a 3/3 on board isn't that bad, so... He's probably going to have to go ahead and kill the Amani. Now, Noble Sacrifice, that's really nice. Playing a Noble Sacrifice right now, that would be highly annoying. Well, actually, you know what? He does have that little weapon that would take it out as well. And the Dark Iron Dwarf striking once again. Just going to clean this all up. And it looks like he is going to play the Secret. But is playing the Secret like the actual... Is this the best place to do it? Because you pretty much know what that secret is. Like, if you just point the axe at that token, that little weapon that he has right now, then it's just going to kind of waste the secret. Which, of course, it isn't a complete waste, but for 1 charge and 2 life, I feel like that's card disadvantage right there. Might have been a little bit better to hold on to that till the later game, and utilized it when there's like a giant Gore Howl out and like 2 minions, right? So he's trying to figure out what is this exactly. You know, most high-level players only use like Redemption and that one defending, the Defender one, whatever the hell it's called. Now he could, if he attacks in and it triggers. All right, so see, he's going to do that. That triggers most of the different things it can be. And the Noble Sacrifice, he'll take that out, but he could this turn War Song plus Raging Worgen plus Inner Fire to deal a ridiculous amount of damage. In fact, he could coin an armor on that turn too and have nothing left. But the thing is, the Raging Worgen would be taken out by the you know, it'll take... that's a lot of damage though too, right? But it puts him kind of in top deck mode as well. It feels like these Dark Iron Dwarfs plus the tokens that are being created by Gnimsh have just gained him so much card advantage here. Yeah, he's just gonna armor up because right now, like, emptying your entire hand, probably not the best course of action. So Shattered Sun Cleric, beefing that up a little bit. Oh man, well that is... I think that's just about it. Like, how do you get through this? Nyx's hand does a lot of damage potentially, but with that much over there, like, the best he can do is hit that for 5 and then take 9 and go down to 2 health, right? Ugh, that is so gross. Well, at least he has that armor. I'm trying to think what he can draw to make this work out. This is just too much damage. Oh, and Avenging Wrath. Alright, well, that was pretty quick. It looks like the Paladin deck kind of crushes through Nyx that game. Let's go on to game number 6. Alright, so we are going into game number 6. And I should add, by the way, I forgot to say it before, Gnimsh is on his final deck, right? He's on, this is match point here, and Gnimsh is on Machine Holy Gun. He's got to make this deck work. He's got to kill 2 more decks from Nyx. Let's look at what Nyx's next deck is. It's going to be a Warlock deck. He's calling it Rice and Curry. Not exactly sure why, but let's look at it. It looks like a very, very aggressive deck. Like, ridiculously aggressive. He's got, of course, a Blood Imps that you're basically always going to play if you're playing any minions. He's got a couple Soulfires. You're just going to always play that in any Warlock deck. Flame Imps, Fairy Dragons, even Succubus here. Scarlet Crusaders are in here. Defenders, Dark Iron Dwarves, Pit Lords, Doom Guards, Argents, Moltens. Wow. One thing that I find really interesting is he's playing double Sun Fury Protector and double Defender of Argus. And I was actually talking to him recently, like, a lot of people aren't liking taunts that much anymore, but giving minions taunt is something that Nyx really loves. It's just, these are like solid drops anyways, like a 2-3 for 2, not too bad. Not too bad at all, and giving a couple minions taunt, I mean, that's, you get to aim taunt at actual good minions, like with really good stats, so pretty cool. I like the deck. It seems very aggressive, very strong. But it also has, it's like giving enough taunt that it can slow down another deck. It deals a lot of damage to itself though. Those Pit Lords, that's gonna be a lot of damage. The Succubus making you discard your own cards. The Flame Imps dealing damage to you, and of course he has a Molten Giants to try to take advantage of that. And of course, oh god, Doom Guards to discard cards as well. So, it looks really strong. If we look on the other side at Machine Holy Gun, these decks are kind of similar in a lot of ways, right? They're running a lot of the same types of minions. Which deck? I don't think that one of these decks really matches up super favorably against the other. I guess that there's, the minions overall are a little bit bigger in Rice and Curry. And he does have the more regular card draw with his hero power. So if he can get off to the more aggressive start, he can really pump up his hand, and it's going to be hard for Gnimsh to keep up. But I could see Gnimsh also taking this. You know, you play something like a Pit Lord or a Doom Guard, and then it gets Aldor Peacekeeper the next turn, or even your Molten Giant. It's like, well, that's suddenly like a big crappy guy. Well, I guess you can always give him taunt though, because there are a lot of those in this deck. Okay, well, again, this is match point. Nyx could possibly take it and dethrone our King of the Hill currently, which is Gnimsh. And wouldn't that be sad, because no one stays for 2 games, if that, or 2 matches. Well, no one wins 2 matches, I guess is what I'm trying to say, if that occurs. But anyways, this is match point, and let's go ahead and jump into this game. Alright, Nyx looking to win this. He's down at the bottom with a really good hand to start. Gnimsh up at the top, the defending champion. Not a terrible hand at all. Definitely has a lot he can do with it. But it is going to be really annoying for him to have to try to deal with double Blood Imp. That's really strong, and he could actually play both next turn. So he does coin out the Fairy Dragon, so that's quite nice. But it looks like we are going to see double Blood Imp. And that's going to give him 4 health, and he's going to be able to attack. Wow, so already down goes that Fairy Dragon, and look at this board advantage for Nyx. Now, of course, he doesn't have a lot of cards in hand, but that's going to take a while to actually deal with. Ah, very nice. Now, this is kind of a cool situation. Does he attack with this and just let the Blood Imps live? Okay. Because you could attack with a Blood Imp, but I think the +2 health is just stronger overall. Although he could have dealt more damage overall, perhaps, at least in the early game, if he attacked with one of those Blood Imps. Now, what do you play here? An Aldor. Okay, that's pretty strong, of course, because that's a battle cry. You can target the Fairy Dragon. So a 1/4. That's not so big. That's not so scary. And yeah, I like the Scarlet Crusader here over the Shadow Bolt. You can utilize the Shadow Bolt next turn with, you know, obviously that Aldor. Like, what is he gonna do? He's not gonna just attack into this. Or maybe he is. He does have a redemption. Or he, you know what? Shattered Sun Cleric wouldn't be bad. But then the Fairy Dragon you can trade with him as well. That's kind of a pain. Well, you could Shattered Sun Cleric plus Redemption. That would actually do a pretty good job. Because then he can, like, knock the shield off of, Scarlet. The Scarlet Crusader. Throw down Redemption. And then when that dies, he gets a 3/3 back. So that's pretty good, actually. I like this move. And of course he doesn't know exactly which secret that is, so it's going to be hard to play around it correctly. Oh wow, he could actually Shattered Sun Cleric that. If he shatters Sun Clerics the Fairy Dragon and attacks in that, then suddenly he's got like a 2/1 right there that can't be targeted, as well as the Scarlet Crusader, but it's against 2 3/3s. What does he put it on? Thing is, he probably thinks that's a defender, that secret. Okay, gonna draw a card. Ooh. Alright. He's got the Shadow Bolts as well. There are a lot of options that he can actually go for right now. I think taking out... I think trading the Fairy Dragon wouldn't be bad. Is he gonna clear the board and just rely on card draw and control? Okay, now he knows that it's not a defender. I think he was kind of expecting a defender in there. So now he knows probably this is the one that brings you back to life, Redemption. So what is he going to allow to come back to life, if anything? Boost the Fairy Dragon? Like originally we were talking about? Like boost Fairy Dragon? Ooh, I like that. And he's putting on that side so that he can Defender of Argus, those two guys as well. Because that's going to be a pretty strong Defender of Argus right there. Okay, so 3/1. A few different options here. I like the Argent. He has 5 mana, so you can actually Argent plus Shattered Sun Cleric. And that's going to be able to take out the Scarlet Crusader. That's probably going to be what he wants to do with that, if I had to guess. Divine Shield your guy. Take him out.
We must cleanse the Sunwell.
It's a pretty close match so far here. Oh, okay. He's actually going to just let him fall down to 1 health.
Not on my watch.
And, okay. So take out that as well. Okay, so 2 1-health guys. What do you actually do here? You know, there are ways to kill a lot of these off, but that's a lot of potential damage coming in from Gnimsh's side of the board. Now, Nyhx looks like he wants to play Argent Commander, but will he use it to bust up a minion, or will he get offensive with it? Because that's... God, that's a lot of damage. It's 12 damage possibly coming in next turn.
Many possibilities.
Is he going to sacrifice the couple Blood Imps? He could do that. He can trade those 2 Blood Imps for those 2 minions. Wow. Okay, so he is going to do it, and that leaves him with a very strong board. Only 3 health on those guys, that's fine. That's what they're normally anyways. So now he's got a huge board advantage, and he actually has 2 Shadow Bolts in hand. Of course, Gnimsh doesn't know that, but with the Gnimsh's hand is just not really there right now. Yeah, I like this play. There's no sense in beefing up one of your cards like this Acidic Swamp Ooze. You may as well go ahead, give +2 attack to that guy so he can actually trade with one of these. Okay, and we'll probably see a Shadow Bolt on the 4/4. That only makes sense. Remove him. And now both those have too much health to actually die here. And Nyhx has taken a pretty gigantic lead with that. I think Gnimsh is playing quite well, but what are you going to do? I guess you have to actually Iron Beak one of these guys. Probably Iron Beak the Argus. Attack with the token. Play your Noble Sacrifice. Play your Swamp Ooze. And then just end up trading out a little bit. The thing is, as these guys go down to like no cards in hand, that is just going to favor Nyhx, especially since he's ahead in life, because he can just start using his life tap and get more cards. And that Defender card isn't really going to do that much. All these guys have too much health to really be affected. I think he needs to hit the Argent with that. Oh, wow. He chooses not to hit the Argent with that. Okay. Oh, wait. Of course he can't hit the Argent with that. What am I even talking about? Wow, that I was almost called a Defender. that taunt. So strong. Well. Yeah, you know what? That's perfect, because it either takes out the Noble Sacrifice or it gets rid of a Redemption that brings back a 1/1 token, which is just going to be garbage. So now you can get aggressive, or you can start trading some. The thing is that 4/4 Defender is such a pain. He's going to have to trade 2 minions for it as of the current state of the board.
We must cleanse the Sunwell.
Yeah, hit for 9. Gnimsh is like, I don't know what's left in his deck that's going to be able to do this correctly. Gnimsh may be dethroned from the King of the Hill. Ooh, Defender of Argus, that's not a bad draw. At least he can get a couple taunts up, but the thing is, there's nothing that he can do. Again, this 5/5 is just so annoying. So he plays this, attacks into the Shattered Sun Cleric with the 4/2. And that leaves him with a 3/2 that he can trade with something. There you go. But still, he's about to go down to 2 life minimum, and there's a Soulfire in hand. So it looks like Nyhx is going to end up taking this. I don't know why he's drawing a card right now. And that is it. Nyhx becomes the new King of the Hill. Okay, so a big congratulations to Nyhx. He has knocked off the defending King of the Hill of Gnimsh, and he walks away with the wonderful prize of being King of the Hill and a small cash prize as well. Really well played. I really liked that Warlock deck there at the end. That was really, really strong. In fact, both these guys showing a lot of cool decks. The Warrior deck doing a very good job here as well today. I quite liked both Shaman decks that we saw from these guys. It's been a good match. And by the way, don't forget, we do have that beta key giveaway coming up right directly after I'm done talking here. If you haven't signed up yet, go to the forums right now. You literally have like 30 seconds. Well, maybe a little bit more than that. I'm going to ramble just for a minute, so make sure you go check that out. So this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry that Doa couldn't be here this time. You know, he's on vacation. I'm actually going to be on vacation next, so there might be a few more that are like solo casted by people, or maybe other guests will come in, whatever. Anyways, it's the way it is, so it's hard to solo cast. So I hope you guys are enjoying King of the Hill. We'd love to have some feedback, and we'd love to have feedback on IHEARTHU.com as well. We're really putting a lot of effort into that site. It's a lot of fun so far. Growing a nice little community. I like it. It's enjoyable. And of course, Hearthstone doing great. Very, very fun game. And make sure to check out Turn 2. And of course, BlizzCon as well. I'll be playing in BlizzCon this, I guess, this weekend, based on when this is aired. And yeah, that's just about it. Thank you much for watching. Congratulations once again to Nyhx. Sorry to see you go, Gnimsh, but we'll find him a new opponent pretty soon and see if somebody can win 2 King of the Hills in a row. That would be pretty cool. So until then, talk to you later.